Welcome back. Good Thursday morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I'm Maria Bartiromo. I hope you're having a great Thursday morning. It is Thursday, April 9th. It is 7:01 on the East Coast. We kick off the hour with the hot topic of the hour. President Trump says he is sending a negotiating team to Pakistan this weekend to discuss ending the conflict with Iran. U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are set to go. But the president told the New York Post that VP J.D. Vance may not attend because of security concerns. Not sure there. He is still set to lead these talks in Islamabad. Here's J.D. Vance in Hungary yesterday.
We have a negotiation that's supposed to start this weekend. I'm happy about where we are. The president has struck a good deal for the American people. The Iranians have got to take the next step, or the president has a lot of options to go back to the war. I encourage the Iranians to come to the table seriously. We've seen some signs that they're going to do that.
Now, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt yesterday clarified the plan that Iran sent to U.S. negotiators to help broker peace. Here's what she said. Watch.
The Iranians originally put forward a 10-point plan that was fundamentally unserious, unacceptable, and completely discarded. It was literally thrown in the garbage by President Trump and his negotiating team. They put forward a more reasonable and entirely different and condensed plan to the president and his team. President Trump and the team determined the new modified plan was a workable basis on which to negotiate and to align it with our own 15-point proposal. The president's red lines, namely the end of Iranian enrichment in Iran, have not changed. This is on the top of the priority list for the president.
Have they given any indication that they would turn it over?
They have.
They are?
Yes.
Israel, meanwhile, is insisting that the ceasefire does not apply to Lebanon, vowing that further strikes against Hezbollah targets in the country will continue. Leavitt reiterated that point as well yesterday. Watch.
Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire. That has been relayed to all parties involved in the ceasefire.
Now, Iran's foreign minister had pushed back yesterday, posting on X this: the U.S. must choose between a ceasefire or, quote, continued war via Israel. He's also threatening to reverse Tehran's commitment to reopening the Strait of Hormuz as a result of the strikes to Lebanon yesterday. Meanwhile, President Trump said that he's considering a joint tolling program with Iran in the Strait. Fox News learning that ships could be charged a percentage of the cargo in the vessel, or a flat fee. Mark Tepper, that's what you get with a businessman. He's looking for opportunities to make the most of the Strait right now.
Yeah, and look, it doesn't matter if there's a 5-point plan, a 10-point plan, a 25-point plan. It seems like President Trump and the United States are willing to negotiate on every single one of those points except one. The non-negotiable is the enriched uranium that Iran cannot have. They have enough currently to make 10 nuclear weapons in the matter of just 1 week by further enriching it. That has to end. And it seems like, you know, if there's a joint effort to toll in the Strait of Hormuz, so be it.
Yeah, and I don't think, Todd, that it's a lot to ask to tell Iran we want you to stop supporting, you know, terrorist proxies like Hezbollah and Hamas.
True, but the fundamental question, Marie, is this administration there in Iran willing to do truly any of this? And, you know, I'm just so worried that this delay, which, you know, it was a necessary evil, I do agree, but I'm worried that it's going to allow this Iranian regime to build up their weapons capacity in a war that they were losing terribly, and allows them to further entrench themselves in these positions which, yes, are untenable for the rest of the world. But in Iran, you know, they seem like they're ready to go down with this ship. And I'm just worried about what happens 2 weeks from now.
Well, I also want to know what happens with Europe. I mean, President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte yesterday at the White House after the president expressed frustrations with NATO allies over the lack of their involvement in Iran. I mean, after all, you know, they said this is not our war. Well, Ukraine was not the U.S.'s war, by the way. The president posted on Truth Social, NATO wasn't there when we needed them, and they won't be there if we need them again. Remember Greenland, that big, poorly run piece of ice? President Trump still reconsidering the U.S.'s role in NATO, with new reports that the U.S. could punish any NATO country who did not support the mission, Todd.
It's just part of this overall thing that basically propelled Donald Trump into office, if you remember. Among other things, it's why does the United States always have to do everything for everybody else and nobody does anything for us? This is still happening. And, you know, good on Donald Trump for saying it has to end now because this is ridiculous. We needed one simple thing from you, like a place to land our planes, and you couldn't even do that. It's not right.
Right. All right. We'll take a break and come right back. We got a big hour. Don't forget, we've got Newt Gingrich and Kellyanne Conway coming up, taking a look at the impact on the midterms. Stay with us. We'll be right back.